If anyone had told me that a single sentence from my father would destroy everything I thought I knew about wealth, respect, and love, I would have laughed. But that was before my wedding day. Before I humiliated the one man who taught me what true worth really means. Before we dive into today's emotional story, make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. Because here, we share stories that touch the heart and open your eyes to life's hidden lessons. Now let's begin. My name is Amelia Sanders, and for most of my life, I've been obsessed with status. I grew up in a modest home, the daughter of a hard-working landscaper who built a small business from nothing. My father, Martin Sanders, was a good man, kind, generous, and humble to a fault. But to me, his kindness was weakness. While he wore dirt-stained gloves and came home smelling of grass and earth, I dreamed of diamonds, silk gowns, and marble floors. I always told myself I'd never end up like him. Simple, ordinary, content with enough. No, I wanted more. When I met Edward Calloway, the only son of one of the wealthiest families in the city, it felt like destiny. He was everything I had ever imagined, tall, charming, confident. And most importantly, he came from money. Real money. Within a year, he proposed, and suddenly I was engaged to the heir of a multi-billion-dollar empire. For once, I felt I'd finally become who I was meant to be, someone important. The wedding was set at the Calloway Grand Estate, an enormous mansion surrounded by fountains and roses, the kind of place that screamed luxury. I was determined that everything would be perfect, from the imported flowers to the crystal chandeliers. I wanted the world to see that Amelia Sanders had finally risen above her small-town roots. But there was one person who didn't fit into my perfect picture. Ethan Gray, our gardener. Ethan had been working for my father for years. He was a quiet man, probably in his 40s, always polite and respectful. He spoke little, smiled often, and spent most of his time tending to flowers and trimming trees. He was kind, but in my eyes he was ordinary. Whenever I saw him, I'd turn away. His presence reminded me of the life I wanted to leave behind, a life of soil, sweat, and struggle. A few days before the wedding, I drove to my father's house to finalize the floral arrangements. Ethan was there, trimming the rose bushes. I rolled down my car window, irritated. "Ethan, make sure you don't mess up the white roses. They're for the ceremony." "I don't want anything looking cheap," I said. He turned to me, wiped his forehead, and smiled softly. "I'll take good care of them, Miss Amelia. Don't worry." That calm tone, it annoyed me more than I'd like to admit. "You better," I muttered and walked away. My father overheard. He called after me. "Amelia, you could show a little more respect. Ethan has done more for this family than you realize." I laughed. "Dad, he's the gardener. Let's not act like he's royalty." Ethan just gave a small smile and went back to work. But I noticed something in his eyes, not anger, not hurt, just disappointment. On my wedding day, everything sparkled. The white roses, Ethan's roses, lined the pathway. The air was filled with the scent of lilies and champagne. Everyone who was anyone was there. As I walked down the aisle, cameras flashed, people smiled, and I felt unstoppable. This was my moment. After the ceremony, during the reception, I looked around proudly, until my eyes caught something that made me freeze. Standing near the back, half hidden behind a marble pillar, was Ethan. He was dressed in a simple gray suit, clean but far too plain for the lavish event. I felt irritation boiling up instantly. What was he doing here? I excused myself from a conversation with Edward's mother and marched straight toward him. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" I asked sharply. He smiled politely. "Your father invited me. He said it would mean a lot to him if I came." I almost laughed. "My father invited you? To this? Look, I appreciate your work and all, but this is a private event for family and important guests. You really shouldn't be here." A few people turned to glance at us, sensing tension. Ethan's smile didn't falter. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I brought you something," he said quietly. "It's a pendant. Your mother loved roses. I made it from the first rose I ever planted here after she passed. I thought it might bring you luck." He opened the box. Inside was a golden rose pendant, simple yet beautiful. Handmade. And that's when my pride took over completely. I laughed. Out loud. "You made it?" "Ethan, I appreciate the gesture, but I have enough jewelry that didn't come from the backyard." Gasps rippled through the guests nearby. I didn't care. I just wanted him gone. "Please, just leave before you embarrass yourself further," I said coldly. Ethan looked at me for a moment, not angry, just sad. Then he nodded once. As you wish, Miss Amelia. He turned to walk away. But before he could take 2 steps, a voice thundered from behind me. Amelia! It was my father. His face was red with fury, his eyes blazing. The room fell silent. Every guest turned to look at us. What's wrong, Dad? I stammered. What's wrong? He repeated. You just humiliated the one man who saved our family. I blinked. Saved us? What are you talking about? My father's voice shook, but he didn't hold back. Ethan isn't just a gardener. He's the reason we still have our business. The reason you have this life you're so proud of. When our company was about to go bankrupt 15 years ago, he was the one who invested millions. Quietly, anonymously. He asked me not to tell anyone because he didn't want attention. He said he owed this family a debt of gratitude for helping him when he had nothing. The room erupted in whispers. I stood frozen. He's not poor, Amelia, my father continued, his voice breaking. He's worth over $500 million. He owns half the land our company works on. And yet, you look down on him because of the dirt under his nails. I felt my knees go weak. That can't be true. But then Ethan spoke. His voice was calm, gentle, but it pierced through every wall of pride I'd built. It's true, he said. Your father gave me my first job when I was homeless. He treated me with kindness when no one else would. I invested because I believed in his heart. But money doesn't change who I am, Amelia. I still love working with plants. They remind me that beauty grows from the ground up, not the other way around. He looked at me for a long moment, then set the pendant gently on the table beside me. I didn't come here for recognition, he said softly. I came because your father said your mother would have wanted me to see you happy. But I see now that happiness built on pride doesn't last. And then he left. Just like that. No drama, no anger. Just quiet dignity. The rest of the evening was a blur. Guests whispered behind their glasses. Edward's parents looked horrified. Even Edward himself avoided my eyes. The perfect image I had spent years crafting shattered in an instant. After everyone was gone, I sat alone on the steps, my gown heavy, my heart heavier. My father came to sit beside me. Do you understand now? He asked quietly. You've spent your life chasing money, status, approval. But the richest man in this room tonight was the one you humiliated. I broke down. I didn't know, Dad. I swear I didn't know. He sighed. That's the problem, Amelia. You never wanted to know. That night, I couldn't sleep. His words, Ethan's calm face, the pendant, they haunted me. The next morning, I drove back to my father's house. I found Ethan in the greenhouse, tending to a row of bright yellow sunflowers. The smell of soil filled the air, and for the first time, it didn't disgust me. It felt grounding. He looked up when he saw me, but didn't say a word. I came to apologize, I said quietly. I don't expect forgiveness. I was cruel and arrogant and blind. I thought money made me better than others. But now I see, it only made me smaller. Ethan studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly. Apology accepted. But remember, Amelia, humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means seeing others as equal. You have a good heart, you just lost sight of it. Tears welled in my eyes. I reached into my purse and pulled out the golden rose pendant. I want to wear this, I said. Not because it's beautiful, but because it reminds me of what truly matters. He nodded once, his eyes soft. Then maybe that's the start of something good. I left that greenhouse feeling lighter than I had in years. Since that day, I've changed. I started volunteering with my father's company, helping small gardeners get fair wages. I stopped judging people by their clothes or cars. And sometimes when I look at the pendant resting against my skin, I think of Ethan, the man I once called poor, and how he gave me something no amount of money ever could, perspective. Pride builds walls, but humility builds bridges. And sometimes the richest hearts were the simplest clothes. If you love powerful, emotional stories that make you feel, then hit that subscribe button right now. Don't forget to like and turn on notifications, so you never miss another story that might just change the way you see the world. Thanks for your time.